DFI 1 students, hope you're staying warm, and I'm glad we didn't meet face to face so we didn't have to get out in this. But then again, maybe you had an 8 o'clock class anyway. I'm sorry about that, if so. Uh, what I want to do is I want to back up just a little bit, look at the code that we had, and then show you where you should be and where we're going for class on Thursday. So I'm going to go to code view only real quick and just go through the code. I put an image in the background. I'm going to go over that in a minute because we haven't done that with you yet. On the nav bar, on the code, I'll send this code to you when I'm done as well. I did enter my Titilium Web, the font that I want to use. I did that in the source code, and I also had to do it in the CSS. And you guys did that before, but just to refresh yourself, you go to Google Web Fonts, select a font that you want, and there's two snippets of code. One that you put in the head of the source code. It'll tell you in instructions at Google Fonts. And then there's this, when you're inside the particular div where you want that font to show up, whether it's the footer, the header, the content, just make sure you have font family. Just swipe that code that it gives you. All right, and then of course the color, the background color, anything that you want to do with that particular div. Let's go back to live view. I want to show you kind of where I'm at. I asked you guys by today to have your nav bar completed and stylized. As you see, what I did is I kind of centered things up. I used the font, Google Web Font. If you're in design view, by the way, you know, it's not going to look right. It just doesn't have the same translucency. It doesn't have the same font. The Google Web Font doesn't appear in design view. So there's a lot of little issues with that. It's good to work in design view sometimes, but the best preview is in live view. So I get the actual color, I get the overlay. And what I've done since you guys, since we met last, is I did add the background texture here and also in my header, and I kind of centered things up a little bit. One thing I want us to do today, you should have this part done, and then I'll go over the background stuff in a moment. One thing we need to do is we need to make sure these links, right now we just opened the property bar and we called it just hashtag. We're going to link to actually spots on the page eventually. So let's go ahead and do that now. Let's go to design view. All right, and let's open our property bar. So go to window and properties, and mine showed up right here at the top, but I'm just going to kind of get it up here underneath so I can zoom in a little bit. And what I want to do is I want to go to each one. I'm going to insert my cursor, and actually I'm going to highlight just the work space 1. I don't want to get anything after that or before, okay, because I don't want to accidentally, you don't want the hover to be ugly. So I'm highlighting that, and it already shows that I have a hashtag here in the property bar. You see that? It says just hashtag, and that means act like a link but stay on the same page. Okay. I'm going to link this to the very first, actually the header of the very first image that we're going to put in our portfolio. So do this, go work 1. All right, makes sense. And we're going to do this with each one of these. So I'm going to make it easy. I'm just going to copy it. And then I'm going to go to work 2, my menu item. And I'll say hashtag work 2. I could say anything here. I could say pickle. I could say lamp. It doesn't matter what I say here as long as on my anchor points down later that I say pickle or lamp or work 2, and it'll know what to jump to. What this is saying is staying on page, but bring wherever this anchor that's going to be named this, bring it to the top of the page. We'll do that in class together later. So let's do through all of those, okay? And hashtag work 3, hashtag work 4. You get the idea. And since we have 8 works, we're going to do all 8 of these. Now you'll notice in my links I got rid of my vertical bars. I could have left them or little bullets, whatever you want to. I just thought in design view, not design view, but in live view, I like him it was just kind of seamless that way. And I really had to play with it to make sure my padding top and bottom lined up. So these things, let me move my property bar out of the way, would line up just right. If you could see really closely, it looks like I got a pixel too tall padding at the bottom, and it underhangs or overhangs just a little bit. I could go back to my code. I think I will, just to show you. And that would be the navbar CSS, where I have the padding 10 on the top. This is for that background color instead of 20. See, that's top and bottom 10. Oh, I'd have to change a whole bunch. So I'm going to let it go because I'd have to say 10 top, 20 right, 9 bottom, 20 left. You know, I have to do something like that if I want to be that kind of exactitude. Right now, it's not really bothering me. But if you want to be really hyper accurate with that, that's fine. Actually, it didn't bother me. It almost looks like a little extra white. It looks intentional to me, so I'm not worried about it. All right, zooming back out. Make sure you save what you've accomplished. I hit save all, so it saved both the source code and the style sheet. And let's look at that background. Okay, in the background, you guys should have an image that you're going to want to use, or a pattern, or a gradient, or whatever. Right now, I've got background color tan. Okay, that's going to be overwritten by whatever I insert here. I think in class I had you have background attachment fixed. Perfect. And background size cover. That's fine. I had a swatch, so it's a little bit smaller, so we could actually just tile across there seamlessly like wallpaper. But just for the sake of what you probably have as an image or something, if you'll just study this code for a moment. Now, when you insert your background image, if you'll do it this way, it'll be easier. Just simply, let me see if I can do this. I'm going to mimic this instead of deleting that, because I think what you'll do is you'll say background dash image colon, and then you get the prompt here. I'm going to hit space one time. I'm going to hit that URL. Don't use image, but URL. And then it'll say browse. But if instead of just browsing to find it, if you'll go .. Oop, I deleted that. Maybe it'll let me see .. images. It'll go straight to your images folder and select from those images, and you can try to find the one that fits yours. Okay. So play with that, and it should have that parentheses in there. I don't know. I think it will. It didn't automatically put it in there, but you need that in there. I don't know why it didn't automatically. .. images / and it'll take you straight to the correct folder. Perfect, right? What this ... means, normally when we had an internal CSS, not an external style sheet, we didn't have to have that at all. We would just simply have look for images folder and then find that images. But since we put a CSS, our CSS style sheet, we put it inside of another folder. This is what this says, look for this folder. It's inside the root folder, but look for this folder called images, you know, inside of your folio folder. So hopefully that makes some sense. I no longer need that background color tan because it's being overlaid by the image, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And you're going to need background attachment fixed. That keeps it stationary so the things scroll in front of it, and then background size cover should help make it fit. If it doesn't, let me know. We'll find some other option for you. Okay, now that's what made this background this texture. It looks like parchment paper with little vertical panels. And I've created actually the same file. I just made it brown and complementary to it to put in the background of my header. So what I want you to do is work on that header and then work on the padding, the top and bottom, to make sure that this logo, this PNG that you've got, kind of centers up in that area. Okay? So my goal is by class Thursday, if you would be this far along, what we're going to do is we're going to deal with that text. Make sure you've got a little kind of introductory, not really a bio, but an introductory thing about your portfolio. And like all of the text, we want it to be interesting looking and sounding. It doesn't have to be tons of it, but you probably want 5 or 6 lines of text so it looks like enough critical mass that it holds its place. And then we're going to do the headers. We're going to do horizontal rules. We're going to insert our images and go from there. Just a little sneak peek. And as a reminder, it's going to look something like this is what we're going to do. So like I have my first line of text kind of bold. I have some links there that I made red, so it just kind of looks colorful, and repeated some of these other colors. I'm using the same typeface here, it's just smaller. I have a translucency in the background of the content area. This is my header that I made and stylized. You can see it right here. This is the horizontal rule, HR, and so it's going to be horizontal rule, header, image, footnote. Horizontal rule, header, image, footnote. So once we establish one, you've got the code for the rest of it. It'll just be a matter of this series of portfolio things you want to show. And then we're going to have a little disclaimer down in the bottom. I'll show you how to make that sticky footer. It's kind of nice having that footer just sits at the bottom all the time, kind of like the header. Oh, and we'll have to do this too, the back to top thing, which should doesn't work in live view, but it will work in, well, no, these don't even work in live view. One thing before I go, I'm going to say save all, and I'm going to preview this in Chrome if it'll let me. Okay, and so I say work 4, it jumps to work 4, and then back to top. All right, the end. I'll see you guys in class Thursday. Feel free to email me if you have any questions with what you're doing, but what I'm looking for is basically this level of progress. You've got this stylized the way you want to with your aesthetic, and you've got your logo. And remember, I said square or horizontal works a little better than a vertical format just because of this big empty space on the right and left. A background image in your body, a background image or texture or gradient inside of your header. All right, stay warm.